Hello, Chip.
Hello. God, my son is like, I mean, see those dots on my face? You all can't see it if you're just listening, but it's like the little holes in the blinds. It's
Oh
so
yeah,
annoying.
it's almost like dividing your face a little bit, like
Oh,
Two-Face.
God.
Wow, this
Well, that
lighting
one
setup,
doesn't
we really
work.
should have had
Yeah.
this figured out before starting to press
Well, it
record.
was good, but now I'm just getting these dots. Okay. Anyway,
Anyway,
boring.
well, we're just showing up as is today. Come as you are to the Velvet's Edge podcast because I told you before the podcast, I'm just tired. And we were talking about what we're going to get to for the topic. And you were like, I think you just need to be like honest about this. Like, just talk about what it is that you're going through with that because it is very topical. So, basically, we were saying that if you guys listen to the Wednesday podcast, it was actually a repost from something I recorded in 2024 with Amina AlTai. She's an executive coach. I mean, she has people like Google, Deloitte, like she's,
People that have
I
real
mean,
stressful jobs.
legit. Yeah, I mean, like legit jobs and companies and corporations, like massive corporations. She was so great. Like I loved that conversation so much. And it's one that has really stuck with me. You know, there's certain conversations I have that I'll just hear their voice in my head almost when stuff starts to come up and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like what Amina said. And so I had an experience earlier this week, or it was I guess it was a couple days ago now, but I was supposed to record for my Wednesday podcast and I got a terrible migraine. And I've been talking a little bit about how busy work has been, but this has kind of been one of the consistent themes of my life where I will like work myself to the point of getting sick. I think I even mentioned this last week, but getting sick, or sometimes if I let stress get to me too much, I get migraines. And it's typically just like I've absorbed too much, not to mention it was a full moon. So
Oh,
now
Lord,
you're
here
gonna
we
like
go.
roll your eyes. There was just a lot going on in my sensitive, energetic body, just couldn't take it. Now, what I would have done in the past is continued on. Like I would have taken my migraine meds, I would have pushed myself through that and just been like a zombie and not shown up as my best self. And I just thought to myself, like, I literally heard Amina's voice in my head and of all the different kinds of like burnout and the things that we talked about. And I thought, oh, wait, I have two choices here. Like, I can do the thing I've done in the past and not go through any of the changes that I've like learned through a lot through this podcast or these conversations that I've had, or I can try something different this time. And then now we can make this a topic. And so that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to repost that podcast because it was such a good one. And I rescheduled that interview. And so you guys will hear it
Great.
next week. But Chip and I were here today and I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm still tired. Like I have so much going on. And so I wanted to keep talking about kind of some of the things that we bump up against in our lives that like burnout or how we get to these places and some of the things that she taught me about the different kinds of labor that we're actually exerting throughout every day. And I think that's what got me. I don't think it's just like, oh, I'm so busy with work. It's, oh, I'm so busy with work and I'm giving to all these other things and my energy is just fucking zapped. And I want to talk about that.
Right. Well, also, I mean, our lives are pretty fast paced. I think most people's lives are really
I
fast
think it's
paced now.
everybody. Yeah, I don't think that's just
And
us.
with since the advent of social media too, it's like you there rest isn't comfortable anymore because you feel like you're falling behind everybody else.
Yeah, which we talked about
And
this last week.
yeah, so it's really easy to like recognize when you're busy at work and it's easy to blame that because it's just it's good fodder for conversation, but you're never going to be like these fucking kids or like I mean it's
Well, people might say that.
you might do it to like your closest friends, but it's like it would be hard to recognize that as the source of your burnout. But like the truth is it's coming your energy is being how do you what's the word used and
Expended.
expended. Yeah, I was going to say expanded, but I knew that wasn't right. You're expending your energy in so many directions, but work is often a really easy one to blame, and obviously it's where we spend most of our days, most of our weeks, so it deserves a lot of the blame. But I think it's important to have the conversation about like, well, what else in our life is creeping up that like we might not even be paying attention to, and what are the signs to look for?
Well, and the thing I was thinking about when you were talking was like the shame that comes with not being able to do it all for me.
Yeah.
Still, I've done so much work around this specific topic, and I actually think it's probably going to be like just a common theme through my whole life. Like, I think this is part of my life journey, this one theme of balancing the give and take, in many different ways. But if we're talking about it in relation to burnout, like just figuring out what I can give energy to, what I'm getting energy back from, how to have a better, healthier balance so I don't reach a place of burnout, but also how to manage like so that I'm still productive, because like
Right.
it's really easy to go one extreme or the other, like work yourself to death or keep yourself busy enough, expend all your energy to get to burnout. Or for me, it would be almost easier to just shut completely down, like
Right.
go
Right.
one extreme to the other. And obviously, we all have to learn to live in this world as we're here. And so, my new goal is like, okay, wait, I need to pay attention. Like, if I'm feeling that thing in my body, like, and my body does talk to me that way, if I'm feeling that thing, where can I like pull back a little bit? And how do I not shame the shit out of myself for pulling back a little bit and not being able to do all the things, to go to all the events, to show up for every person in every way that I want to? Because it's not like it's bad things that I'm expending energy on,
Right. Well, also too, it's like, we by nature, humans, not everyone's a narcissist, a selfish to the point of narcissism, but human nature is to be a little selfish. So we want to think that everyone's noticing if we're there or if we're not there. But none of us are keeping score on anybody else. Like, so, but it feels like everyone's doing more than that you're doing. And that's just not the case because we're not paying enough attention to what other people are doing.
That's fair.
So,
Because one of the
um,
narratives in my head is always like, why can they do it and I can't do it? Like,
right. But you're
why
not
can everyone?
noticing their burnout when they are canceling
Or it's
because you're
just like
just not
we're
paying attention.
And we're also could be different people. Like there are
Totally.
certain things I will never forget. I think I maybe have told this story on the podcast before. And my mom's listening. So hey mom. But this is about her. But I remember when she retired and like my mom was very good at her job and everyone that worked for her loved her. And so it was kind of this like big deal. She was a school principal and it was a huge deal at her school that she was leaving. Like the teachers were really upset and the kids were upset. And I remember her telling
She's
me
like
like
the
people
only principal who's ever been like
I
that.
know. Everyone thinks of principals so negatively, and my mom was truly loved and adored. Like when I would go in, I was like, "Oh God, I feel like a celebrity's daughter." The way they're like, "Oh, you're Miss
There's like
Henderson's
a big
daughter."
oil painting of your mom at the
Yeah.
school.
But yeah, so she would tell me like teachers were coming in her office and like crying to her. So it was very emotional, It was just like, and I don't think we ever give enough merit or credit to emotions and how much weight they can carry or how tiresome they can be and just going through the emotional process of grief. I think we talked about that last week too, how much that can be. And I just remember like I flew in for her actual retirement party and she was taking a lot of naps. And that's so not my mom. My mom is like a go-getter. She's always getting shit done. And she was like, I remember her looking at me and she goes, "Is this how you feel all the time?" Because she was so emotional, just going through the process of like such a big life change and everyone else's emotions around her.
Yeah,
And I was like, literally every day, mom.
every
Like,
day.
so it's
But
like,
now you're retired and actually get to nap. That's
yeah.
the difference.
Yes, she is living her best life now.
Yeah.
But all that is to say is like every human is wired so differently too. And so we can't like measure ourselves against other people. Yet I say this and do it all the time.
Right.
Like,
Well, I also think it's important to recognize that like we're not alone in burnout. Like
yeah, I agree.
burnout is not a sign of weakness in us. It's actually just an indicator that like something is we're not paying attention to something. And
Mm.
I think if you ignore the burnout, that's when you have a midlife crisis or a full-on breakdown or whatever.
Or
It's
like a
something's not
lashing
in a
out.
yeah,
Like,
something's not in alignment when
yeah,
you're burned out, and maybe it's work, maybe it's a relationship, maybe there's something in a friendship that's really weighing on you that you're not addressing. Maybe there's something physical that you need to deal with. But everyone goes through it.
you're right.
Everyone hits a point of burnout. But I'm right there with you. Like I feel like I need to say yes to everything. I need to be at everything. I mean, I feel less of that the older I get. Like I'm much more comfortable just being at home.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, again, back to the social media piece of it too. There's also the emotions that come with like when your friends go do something and you're like, why wasn't I invited to do that? And then suddenly like you feel like you have to start saying yes to more so that you're not
So that
not
you get
invited to things.
included. I know.
Yeah.
It's such a like it's literally a hamster wheel.
It
Didn't you tell
really
me
is.
that you found some signs of burnout? I was
Yeah,
curious about
so
these, some like indicators. Because I do think I want to say this really fast. I think we talk about burnout a lot on this podcast and people are
mhm.
probably like, "Oh, here we go again." But there's so many layers to burnout, and I'm going to get to some of the different kinds of labor in a second. And if you listened Wednesday, you heard that too. But I want to dive deeper because it was truly life changing for me to have these two words entered into my vocabulary. But I think that we might talk about burnout a lot, and people don't necessarily register places in their life that that might be happening to them too. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Because I don't know that it always looks like what we're saying exactly. Like when we're saying burnout and we just want to shut down, it doesn't always look like that. And the buildup definitely doesn't. So these are some of the like indicators,
These are some
maybe.
of the indicators that you might be reaching burnout. So there's mental signs like if you're chronically exhausted even after you've rested, if you've got brain fog, you're forgetting things, you're having trouble focusing, you have trouble making decisions, that's a sign
Mm,
of brain fog. Loss of motivation. So if everything feels like a chore or when things like especially like things that you used to love, like it feels like a
yeah.
chore to have to do them. Cynicism or detachment. So when you start thinking, what's the point? Or you become like emotionally numb, those are the mental signs of burnout. Some emotional signs are like you're irritable and short-tempered and you snap at small things, increased anxiety or dread. So if it's like you're an obligation's coming up and you're worried about that, or like you've got dread about going into work or getting your work done, feeling unappreciated, like no one sees the weight that you're carrying, and hopelessness. You know, some of these to me read
Mm,
even past burnout. Like if you're feeling hopeless, that to me is even scarier. And I think, you know, it requires a little bit more than a nap.
right.
But the belief that things won't get better. So that is you're definitely a burnout if you're feeling that way. Physical signs are headaches and muscle tension. So there
Shut
you go,
up.
Kelly.
Really?
Changes in your sleep, so either insomnia or sleeping too much,
That's me,
stomach
insomnia.
issues, indigestion, nausea, appetite changes,
Check, check. Okay.
weakened immune system, so you get sick more often.
Well,
There you go.
I
Check,
feel
check,
like
check.
this feels like an
Yeah.
indictment.
Yeah. And then behavioral signs. So if you feel like you're pulling away and isolating yourself socially and emotionally, if you're procrastinating and avoiding, you can't bring yourself to start or finish tasks, that's a sign.
Mm,
Increased reliance on coping behaviors. So if you're overeating, you're over drinking, you're numbing your senses, or you're just staring at your phone and scrolling, like that's a sign. And decline in work performance, so it's either like your perfectionism ramps up
yeah.
or you're doing stuff to overcompensate. So
Oh my God, you literally just summarized me.
yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
so
Like
much.
I think, sadly, I think especially in this country, because the way that we look at, our jobs and how important work is in the scope of our lives, I feel like a lot of us are running on fumes all the time. I mean,
Mhm.
it is not even June, and we are talking about burnout. It's
Right, it's
crazy.
halfway through the
It's
year.
crazy. And it's
Hmm.
funny, like, obviously we love doing this. That's why we do it. And I said to Kelly, I was like, it's hard even every week coming up with something to talk about. And that can feel like burnout. And she was like, well, I don't want to look like we're complaining. I'm like, I'm not complaining about it because I'm here recording. I like to do it. But it's like when other things are cooking and you're like, fuck, what are we going to talk about? Because it's really just us, like
Right.
so we're speaking from like our own perspectives, so that can feel like a labor, they call it a labor of love, like because it is work.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it's important to talk about things that are topical because then we're a little bit honest.
Well, and I think like what you just said about the podcast stuff is probably something a lot of people can relate to with work. I also always equate it to like Do you remember when an artist gets their first album and it's like people always talk about this in the music business for anyone not in the business, but it's like the first album can be killer, you know? And you think about it though, they've taken years to
Their
write
whole
it.
life. Yeah.
It's like the buildup of their whole life has been around this one album. They're nobody before the album, so they don't have all these obligations. Well, then this album comes out and it's super successful. So then they're on a tour and they're gone all the time and they're people don't really realize, I don't think, how much artists are like on the go with the demands of just like marketing and now social media and touring. And it's just hard on your body and you're busy. You know, there's not a
Hmm.
lot of time for just you, like, especially out of the gate, you got to run and go. So then the second album time comes to do, and they're like, when am I supposed to write this album? Like,
Right.
and it's not because they don't love the craft anymore, they don't love music, or they don't love the creativity of writing it. It's that there's so many other demands that they can't do it in the way that they did the first go around. And so it's just trying to manage it all. And it's hard, again, not to get burnt
They
out.
also haven't been living a normal life, you know? So it's Adele, I don't know the exact quote, but she's like her ethos is that like you have to live to write.
Oh, that makes so much sense, though, because what
And
else
that's
do you
why
write
she's like
about?
5 years it takes her 5 years
Yeah.
to make a record because she's like, if you're coming out of a tour cycle and you've been on this hamster wheel of fame, you're really gonna like write songs that
Yeah. What
relate
are you going to
to
write
normal
about?
people because you
Hmm.
haven't had a chance to like explore your relationships or like live or travel in a real way that's not just waking up in a city and playing a show that night and then waking up in the next city and playing a show that night. So yeah, I mean
Yeah, well,
it's
this is the point of that was for me to say, like, then it's sometimes like you do have to find the ways to keep your authenticity and do it, which is why you encouraged me today. You were like, no, I think this is what we talk about
let's talk
because
about it. Yeah.
that's what you're going through. That's what I'm going through. So surely some of our listeners are as well. But what I was going to reference with Amina, and I was telling you about this earlier, Chip, again, I'll post this clip on my social media. I've been shitty about social media again. It's like, it's hard to keep up with. It doesn't, I will say this about social media. I do not find the satisfaction or reward in it that I used to. And so I've got to find a new strategy because, like, it can be very defeating to me, except it also feels like the thing you have to do so people know about to come listen to this or what you're doing, or it's like people look at it as almost like a website now. It doesn't even feel
Yeah.
fun anymore. Like I'm like I don't even know what anyone's doing for fun. I just know what side hustle they're doing. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's
Just
like a
gets
braggy
Yeah,
platform
it's
now.
weird. It's just weird to me. So if anyone has tips on that, DM me because I'm just feeling like, what do I do about that? But I will post this clip because I do like to post the stuff that inspires me. And what Amina said was burnout, like we often equate it to like what you and I are talking about with working a lot. And I do think that that is a big factor. Like I can see for myself when work gets really extreme and crazy, the opportunity for burnout is much higher. Um, and also, I don't think that's always the only contributor because it's not like I just go work all the time and life stops, you know? And so it's like, in addition to a busy work schedule, we have what she called invisible labor. And that like has changed my whole life. And that was whenever I was having the migraine, I was thinking to myself, oh, I have been trying to operate as if my work schedule isn't what it is and still show up for all this invisible labor of my life. And that could be things like doing the dishes, cleaning your house, making dinner. Like if you have a family and you make dinner for kids, but I feel it for myself too, like
Yeah.
of making a healthy dinner. Um, and making sure I'm fed. I know that sounds crazy, but like I have such a caretaker job position that often sometimes the thing that gets sacrificed is like my own self-care, like
Hmm.
making sure I'm eating or I'm sleeping. And that sounds crazy, but that is how extreme it gets sometimes. And then like, yeah, just any sort of like, I would think emotional labor, maybe like if you're in a relationship, like for instance, my boyfriend is now on the road with an artist he works with for like 30 days, right, in Europe. So amongst all my crazy schedule, like because of our both of our weird work schedules, I wanted to see him before he left, but like I did not have the juice for that.
Right.
But I did it because my relationship is important to me and he's important to me. So I went to Charleston this last weekend. And to say that I was not checking all the things on your list that you just read us as like the things, it was like just all of it. Every physical symptom, every emotional, every whatever, that was me. And I was trying to show up, but it's almost like if I had just said to him like
I
I have
love
nothing to
you. I'm
give.
fucking exhausted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's way more chill than me. So he would have been like, I get it. Like he already had told me that, but I was like, I can't go longer than I have to go already without seeing you. And so it's like I showed up and I
You
was
also
trying,
wanted to see him.
well, I wanted to see
There's
him,
that desire too.
but it was more
So,
like I probably should have gone to Charleston and just gotten in his bed and like watched movies all weekend,
right, right.
But instead I was like trying to be the, like positive and let's go to dinner and let's go on these long walks. And I was just like my body was screaming like, bitch, fucking lay down, and but it's that weird, like you're trying to balance life. I guess I'll call them responsibilities, with work responsibilities, with the things that we care about and that matter to our heart and just all those things. But that's invisible labor. It's not the things you necessarily get paid for, but those are the things happening. And so if you start incorporating that into like, oh, here's another reason maybe I'm starting to get really irritable or tired. Like that I really resonated with when you sleep, but you still wake up just like exhausted. Like
Yeah.
that for sure happens. Then the other thing she talked about was tolerations. And that describes me from my past for sure. It's like, how much are we tolerating in certain circumstances? This can be any kind of relationship, job, life experience. And how much is it draining us? Like, are we tolerating too much in any circumstance to where it's not giving us anything, it's only taking? And
Mhm.
I do feel like that's something like in the past couple of years I've really tried to address in my life. Like, am I be in a reciprocal situation here? Like, is there some benefit to me and some benefit to them? Or am I carrying all the weight to keep this alive in a situation where I'm not getting anything back? And like I've
Right.
made some drastic changes in my life on that in that regard. But of course it can sneak back up. It's like old habits fucking die hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the two things she said. And when I really like hit that place with the migraine, I started thinking about her again. And I just heard that voice and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally planning every minute of the day. And the truth is right now work is so insane. I'm not going to be able to do the life things right now. It's
And
temporary, but I
right.
have to let myself off the hook from certain things, even things I want to do. But like if it meant certain dinners or seeing friends or whatever, like I think there's a balance. Like you need to have fun too. So doing that,
And
but
you have to
also like,
eat.
and you have to
Yeah.
eat. But like, what do I truly have the energy for? What is my body truly asking me for
Mhm.
today? Is it a bath or is it going out? Is it this or is it, it's just like those kind of things because time is limited and the demands at work are high. And so sometimes the invisible labor and the tolerations really need to be extra paid attention to because I don't have the space for it. And that was what she really came to mind for.
Well, I mean, it's also too, it obviously it's not unique to anyone because we all have to like if you don't ever clean your house or you don't ever do your dishes, next thing you know, you're living in a filthy hovel.
Well, right.
And so sometimes you can't ignore those things. So it's like, how do you recognize those things that are always going to like those things will always be there. Like the work has to be paid attention to because it's in the moment and it's what pays your bills and you can't end up homeless. So you have to do that, but you also have to clean your house, you have to cook, you've got to do these things. So how can you minimize the load for yourself in those things? And for me, like I know one of the reasons why I'm overweight is because I am really bad about cooking. Like
Mm.
I'll wait to the last minute. I'll be like, oh my God, if I start cooking now at 7:30, I'm not going to eat till 9:30. So I'm just going to run out and get something. And so it's like I'm taking in too many calories. So one of the things that I've started doing now is it's not necessarily meal prep, but I'll cook a lot of chicken. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
I always have like the main thing is in the fridge already cooked, so I can throw it on a salad, or I can just eat some chicken, or I can dip it in some mustard and just call
Mm-hmm.
it a meal. And then that takes away some of the energy that I would normally have to expend
Totally.
every night to get that done. Or
Well,
just
it's
simplify what your menu
eating.
is
Yeah.
so that it's habit forming
Yeah.
versus having to create like a fancy meal for yourself every night to keep it exciting because
Oh
it's really
no.
not
The
necessary.
the fancy meal is not happening when I'm busy, but I do
Right.
think I do really well when I pre-prep proteins, like you're saying,
Yeah.
because like the sides are easy, but the protein is the thing that takes the time.
Right.
Even though I'm really trying to get into grilling,
Oh,
I still have been grilling some, but I also think to your point, when you realize, okay, I'm reaching this place of burnout and I still have all these responsibilities, maybe that's the time to go, okay, well, work is really busy so like more money is coming in for me. That's what that means. And I'm like, yeah, I need to have a house cleaner right now. Or I need to, like you need to
right.
do these, like it's the time to be like, it's okay to ask for help. And what is that called when you outsource? Yeah. When
Yeah,
you
you outsource things.
outsource things, like the things that you can't quite do. That's why a lot of people do like those meal services because they're a healthy option and it's already pre-done.
Right.
But
Well, it's also like cleaning your house comes at a cost. So when the physical or emotional cost is greater than the monetary cost of having someone come clean it, that's when the scale needs to tip and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to pay
oh,
somebody.
that is the thing that even during COVID, when I was like cutting back on everything, I mean, there were obviously a big portion of the time she didn't come because of COVID. But then once they got back to it, I was like, that is the thing I will always find the money for because it's the help that I need. Like even if I'm not busy, that's not my skill set necessarily, the details of cleaning. And it just helps me maintain like being more organized in general. But like I will literally find ways to make that money to be able to afford that because it's so beneficial to me. But that is one of the things I've learned over the years is like, okay, this one really, really helps me. Cause like when
Hmm.
my space is messy too, it really inhibits my creativity. So it's like a loop of it either has to like be clean and a little bit organized or I can't work but like am I giving the energy to cleaning and you know what I'm saying? It's just like
Totally, yeah.
a cycle. So, and I realize it's a luxury, but it's also like the thing that I'm
But
dedicated.
it's also
I would cut back
you
on shopping
can
or anything to do
yeah,
that.
you can point to the necessity of it too,
For me,
It's
that's my
like
choice, that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
my mom all like I think like most mothers, my mother was a superhero growing up. Like I still don't
Yeah.
I can't even wrap my head around the balance and the exhaustion that she must have been living with.
Mm-hmm.
Um and getting everything done at the same time. But like and the house that we grew up in was like a old farmhouse and the rooms were big. It was a big house. Like it was more house than we needed. And she would clean that thing every Saturday from top to bottom.
Oh my God.
And like and having kids running around just like getting it dirty right behind you. And now she's older and they have a cleaning person. And it's not like she doesn't see it as a luxury. It is 100% a necessity because she can't move the way that she used to
Oh, that
in
makes
order to do
sense.
all of it. So there are like,
You know what? I'm gonna start saying that for me too. It
yeah,
is a necessity
it's
for
a
me.
necessity for you.
It's one
And
that I
it's like
prioritize.
it's coming at a different stage in your life, but
Mm-hmm.
it's in New York City, we had one, and I definitely could not afford like it was not a luxury, but we were never home, so it never made sense for us to be the ones cleaning it, and it was
Mm-hmm.
so affordable up there. And you just have them come once a week, so like they're not spending their whole day doing cleaning your little
Right.
apartment. It's like a half day they can go do the neighbors or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm cheap and don't have one here, but I clean along the way a lot. Like I'll be on the
Mm-hmm.
phone and just walking around my house dusting, like on a business call, or
I'm
straightening things
dead of
up.
that mental.
I got my little
Every
duster
time I'm on
up.
the phone with you now, I'm gonna be like, "You dusting?"
Wait, oh no, I put it away, but I did do a little dusting today.
When we were on the phone?
No, oh yeah, yeah, when I was on the phone with you before this, yeah.
Well, you're
I was like, who was I on
maximizing
the
your
phone
time.
with?
I wonder about your energy levels, though. Do you feel burnout or do you feel good?
Right now I feel okay. I mean, I definitely am burnout is no stranger to me. I also, when I was doing some research, I looked up ways that like um, be common forms of burnout. And one of the things that popped out to me in terms of like friendships and family is that I am generally just a pretty happy-go-lucky guy.
Totally.
And one of the things that I suffer from is that when I hit burnout, is trying to remain that person,
Mm,
like trying to keep it on. And, it's because I don't want to ever be perceived as anything different than what I identify as.
yeah.
And that's a lot to carry. Like,
Yeah, it
I am a
is.
whole human being. I can be sad, I can be tired, I can not be in a good mood,
You can have a
but
bad day.
I'm the one that like puts that upon myself.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for the friends that I have because I feel like every time I'm in one of those spots, my friends recognize it and
Mm,
call me out on it. And they're like, something's off, like what's going on? And it forces me to like admit it and recognize it
mm,
and work through it or whatever it is, or just be okay with like saying no to some things and sitting at home. And it's pretty rare for me. I'll admit that I'm lucky.
yeah.
Um, Especially considering how crazy my life can get. Like I somehow have that like Energizer Bunny gene. I thrive off of it, I guess. Really,
Yeah,
you kind of have to. But I thought that was a really interesting one
it
because
is.
we all have our identities, and it's a role really that we sometimes feel like we've outgrown for the moment, and we just need to step away from it, and that's fair to do. So
I love the part that you said, I'm a whole human being, because
yeah,
it isn't fair to expect any one person to be exactly the same at all times.
right, right.
So like you're gonna have bad days or be in a bad mood, and like that's okay. It doesn't mean you're still not the fun-loving chip,
Right,
that's funny and
right.
makes us all laugh. But that shouldn't be an obligation that you
Mhm.
feel
I
to
should
be
not
in
have to
that
provide
place.
that to anyone. Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you before the podcast too, like it is interesting because a lot of the things that I have to watch with myself, they come from a good place, just like what I heard you say just then. It's like those are really they're gifts of yours. I mean, you are such a light to be around and you make us all like so happy. Like I just love when you're in the same room as me. There's like a
yeah,
energy you bring. But like um, if you use it too much or you don't allow yourself the space to have the other emotions, like it does start to drain you to have to be that way. And like I think
hmm,
that's all things. Like some of the things that I can look at in my life that I do, they come from a good place of me trying to use the things that I look at now as like the gifts that I have. But if I go too far with it, or I'm not, like you made a point because you were like, well, if someone was only calling you to like dump all the shit that's going on in their life, but they weren't like asking you how you're doing or something, like if it just was that they over and over and over were calling you for that, which happens to me because I do like to help people going through hard times.
right. That's a
um,
gift.
yeah, I mean, it's just like I do feel comfortable to sit with people in hard times and listen and like give feedback or whatever. Like I am finding that that is something I can help people with sometimes. But like I do have to watch myself because before I know it, I'm in the problem with them all the way. I'm in it every day. And then I can take it on as my own and it's not my own. Like
Right.
there's a definite boundary I have to have with myself. And like you said, it's not like anyone else is typically asking that of me, but we can just kind of get lost in the sauce of it, and both of
Yeah.
us, and me included. And so I'm really trying to pay more attention to that. And it's an expenditure of invisible labor because
Yeah.
nobody's paying me to do that.
No, it's
So
unpaid
yeah,
therapy. And it's like the dichotomy is that or the double-edged sword of it is that you actually enjoy
I fucking love it. If I
doing
could do it
that.
all day,
But
every
at a
day, I
certain
would.
point, it's like it takes up all the space for your emotions too. And it's like
That's true.
suddenly you're not like you've absorbed so much that you struggle with what you're actually feeling
Well,
because
I don't
you're
know. Yeah.
carrying the feelings of somebody else,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
a very good way to say it.
I mean, it really is. The whole burnout thing is funny. Just like looking through some of the things, like these are some of the things that I found that like can lead to it. The unpaid therapist, like when you feel like you have these like guilt-laced obligations
I know
where
about
you are
those. Yeah.
doing things because you feel like someone wants you to do it versus you wanting to do it.
Which I know
And
everyone listening to this podcast has to relate. Unless you're one of those people who is very firm and like my boyfriend is like he does not feel guilty not going to stuff. Like he doesn't he just because he's just a solo guy, like he's very independent. I'm like,
yeah,
well, what? Like you don't feel the obligation of this? And I'm like, they'll be so let down. And he's like, well, they like he doesn't
right.
it doesn't bother him.
One of my favorite things that happens is like when I see I have like drinks or dinner on the calendar with somebody, and I'm
And
like, I
they
really
text you and
don't want, and
cancel.
yes, or when like, and you really don't want, I just don't have the fucking energy. Like, and it had really, normally has nothing to do with that person. It's just like
No,
the
it's just
last
been
thing
a
I want to do
day
is
or
leave my
something.
house tonight. Like it's pouring down rain,
Right.
but neither of you have followed up, and
Yeah.
either they cancel for you or the night just goes by and no one says anything. And you're
Isn't
like,
that so,
awesome.
it's so
I'm like,
pathetic though.
I
It's like
fucking
we're,
love it. I love it.
oh my
Or I'll pull
God.
the, and I probably shouldn't show all my cards, but I'll pull the like, oh my God, I just saw this in my calendar. I completely forgot
I
about it.
always
And it's
know when
like
you do that. I'm like, no,
15
you did
minutes.
not. You did not fucking forget that. Do not play that game on me. And now you
Don't play that
definitely
game. And
can.
I guess I can't do that now that I've admitted it.
Jigs up.
Jigs up.
It's just
Yeah.
so funny. It's so interesting because, like, when I'm in a healthy headspace, I will state my truth. I'll say, like, I just don't think I have that in me today. I really communicate openly about likes and dislikes, or, not in a rude way, but just I'm just honest.
You're
And
right.
it's so wild. People respond so much better than we think. Like, it's so interesting, actually, how then it seems like people trust me more because, like, I'm not doing the obligatory hang or the whatever. If I'm there, that means I want to be there, you know?
Right.
And if I can stay there, it's so good for everybody, seemingly. But it's somehow, we kind of go back into these old patterns. And I think it's so easy just to slip into this, like, I don't want to let people down. But it's like, think about when you have a birthday party. Do you really want anyone there that just does not want to be there? Like, I
No.
don't. I would rather someone say, I just don't have it in me today. I totally get it. Like,
And
go
I'm
do
also not
you.
carrying around a clipboard with all the people that are invited to be like, so and so didn't show up. Why weren't they there? You know what I mean? Like,
Of course
my goal
not.
is to
You're
have a
just
good
like,
time
if
that
you want to
night.
come, come. I know, but
Yeah.
for some reason, I know that everyone probably feels the pressure to go to these things that we
Right.
feel like we should or whatever.
And the next time I do something that's got like an invitation, I'm gonna put like a little asterisk that says like, you are not obligated to attend,
Oh,
even
I
if you
like
say
that.
yes.
Yeah,
You
just
know,
come if
like
it feels good to
come if you
you.
feel like it. Like it's tough. It's tough. And then when you go, like if you go to something, or I should say, if I go to something that I didn't really want to go to, then I'm there looking for the
Miserable.
opportunity to leave. And then it's like, why am I even
What am
here?
I
You
doing?
know,
It's
like
not fun
just
for
to,
them. It's not fun for
yeah, it's
you.
not, I would much rather just be present somewhere
Mm.
that I want to be. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
kind of think this is a whole wrap up of everything we're saying is it's almost like if we could all start living with the truth of what we have to give energetically and really owning that, it seems like it would shift a lot, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Like
Well, you know
even
what I
me
think?
finally saying out loud, I kind of hate social media now, and not in the ways of like I hate, the trolls or whatever. Like I just don't enjoy it. I
It doesn't
really
resonate with
don't.
you.
It
Yeah,
does not feel good to me anymore. And so I've got to figure something out. But that's the first time I've said that out loud because I feel so obligated because I built this big following and it used to be such a big part of my business and all this stuff, you know? Isn't that weird that I would
yeah,
feel that way? But I do.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think the hard part about all of this is admitting to ourselves sometimes that we're in a rut that needs to be explored.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so we're often the shame that comes with that or the inability to recognize that is sort of what drives us to full on burnout versus being like, well, why don't I feel like going tonight? Or just admitting to yourself,
Hmm.
like, I don't want to go, like, it's fine, like, no one's gonna care.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that is the challenge that most of us face is like admitting those things to
Admitting
ourselves.
and accepting.
Yes.
Because I want to think that I'm Superwoman who can do it all. And I do get a lot done in a day on good days, but like if I'm feeling the weight, if the symptoms that you read at the beginning are starting to creep in, that is a time to ask myself what the truth is and what am I not willing to accept right now. Is it really obligatory or am I putting that pressure on myself? I mean, it's just interesting.
Mhm. I mean, I've definitely gotten to a place in my life where I like to say no a lot more.
That's your
And
word of the year.
it's my word of the year. Um, of course, I'm struggling with a decision right now that I like feel like I should say no, but I want to say yes.
Do
But
you want
that's
to
a
talk it out
whole
with me
nother.
and the listeners without telling us
No,
what
it's a
it is?
whole nother podcast.
Why do
But
you want
yeah,
to say yes, though? Is it for you or for them?
for me, really.
Oh,
But I'm just like, it's one of those things where I'm like, will I regret it? Like those sorts of things. It's not like a burnout situation, but it's funny that we're talking about saying no and I'm like wrestling with this decision. So, um, I think I'm worried that if I say no, I will regret saying no.
that's always a big one, too.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds like a
yeah.
little bit of FOMO.
There's a little bit of that.
Interesting.
hmm
We'll sidebar after this.
We'll sidebar. I'll fill you
Sorry,
in.
listeners.
Sorry. I'll fill you all in once I've made the decision.
Okay, that's a guarantee. Well, if we've said anything that resonates, which I hope we have, I feel like this was just us kind of talking about where we are today. That podcast with Amina is actually so helpful. And she also talks about a lot of just other ways like finding your purpose. Again, she's an executive coach for massive corporations. So she's super well spoken and was really, really interesting to talk to. So go check that one out. You can always email us at theedge@velvetsedge.com. I am curious if you guys feel this. Like, I know we can't be the only ones. There's no way.
No, everyone feels it at some point.
Yeah. So email us or you can slide into my DMs. I am at Velvet's Edge, Chip.
I'm at Chip Dorsch. It's ChipDorsch.
And as you guys go into the weekend and you're living on the edge, I hope you always remember to
Act casual.
bye. Bye
Bye.
now.